Alright, so let's get started, guys. We are up to part 4. So we've just got this last part, so we'll get this finished now, which will be good. So obviously if you're away, you'll be able to catch up on those annotations that we have done. And we can just start with part 4. Make that a bit bigger for you. Focus and okay. Right. So the last bit that we were looking at yesterday was this image of the worshipping of the false gods with the lips that would kiss from prayers to broken stone. So now we have the second last part, part 4. Okay. The eyes are not here. There are no eyes here in this valley of dying stars, in this hollow valley, this broken jaw of our lost kingdoms. In this last of meeting places, we grope together and avoid speech, gathered on this beach of the tumid river, sightless unless the eyes reappear, as a perpetual star, multifolate rose of death's twilight kingdom, the hope only of empty men. Now, how many times have we seen eyes so far? Let's have a look at where we were circling eyes. So we had here on the first page those who have crossed with direct eyes to death's other kingdom, with that direct eyes symbolising the a couple of things. It was those who are capable of seeing their inner truth, and Kurtz had a realisation at death of this inner truth, and his eyes were mentioned in the moment where he died. And we had eyes I dare not meet, and so eyes is like the window to the soul, and if someone is evil or have in them something bad and you see it in their eyes, so eyes I dare not meet in dreams. There the eyes are, so we had eyes again, and then we come to this part and we start with this repetition of eyes again. Trying to get it so it's easy for you to see. Okay, the eyes are not here. There are no eyes here. So let's firstly circle the word eyes, and of course this is all synecdoche again. And the annotation you're going to write is now, you know how when I just showed you this previous mention and we had direct eyes, okay? With direct eyes to death's other kingdom, so looking ahead, it's disturbing, and it's that, synecdoche, but it's also that notion of being able to see your inner truth. But here we actually have the eyes are not here. There are no eyes here. So this is the shift. So the eyes were there previously and now there are no eyes. So it's like the poem's going deeper into this darkness, into this very hollow place. And the lack of eyes represent this blindness and this inability now to see into yourself and have that chance of redemption. So we are going to write the hollow men. Oh, can you see? Yep. are blind and cannot perceive the surrounding reality and we're going to also put the hope of direct eyes that can see inner truth invite shame. I'm going to explain this in just a sec. What I'm going to do, I wonder if this would be better if I put it this way so that my hand isn't covering the writing. Tell me if this works better. Off I go. Why is it upside down? Oh. That's actually going to be better, isn't it? Okay, so we've got the hollow men are blind and cannot perceive the surrounding reality. The hope of direct eyes that can see inner truth, invite shame and seek redemption no longer exist. Just that notion of inviting shame, because you know how we're talking about the ability to have sins forgiven if you realise the truth of what you've done. It's in that asking for forgiveness that you feel a sense of shame. So if you've done something really bad and you go and you apologise, shame is part of that. So the shame that should be felt by these hollow men is no longer there. And so if there is no shame, then there's no, if you kind of can't see the reality of what you've done or who you've become, and you don't have any shame therefore, because you've got no sense of needing to seek redemption, that's when all hope is lost. And that's what we've got here. And with this next little bit, in this valley of dying stars. Now, did you notice that we had just above, when we had the twinkle of a fading star? So here, the star was fading, but now the star is dying. So it's that descent, that going down into the depths of hell, basically. Or not even hell, they're in purgatory, aren't they? So let's write I'm going to underline dying stars, and I'm going to write the fading star has now become dying, progression towards darkness, disappearance and death. Let's make that a bit shorter though. We'll put fading is now dying, and I'm just going to do an arrow so that it reminds me that I'm talking about what's up here. Fading is now dying, progression towards darkness, disappearance and death. in this hollow valley. Now, this is another reference to Heart of Darkness. So, let's do this. Where did I put my little ruler? There it is. Okay, so if we... Now I need a colour that's quite different to those two, so I'm going to go with that one. And where shall I write this? I'm actually going to do this, and I'm writing, okay, so HOD is what I'm using for Heart of Darkness. Allusion to a Heart of Darkness. And the allusion is the valley Marlowe walks through when he arrives in the Congo. And the quote is, "I stepped into the gloomy circle of some inferno, black shapes crouched in all attitudes of pain, abandonment, and despair." So, allusion to Heart of Darkness. And actually, let's write of the despair. This broken jaw of our lost kingdoms. If you have a broken jaw, what can you not do? And what else? Speak. You can't speak, can you? You can't talk. And so in a poem where he's like wanting, wanting admission of and that, seeking of redemption, if you can't speak, then you can't do any of those things. So not only are there no eyes to see, but you can't speak either. It's completely immobilizing the ability to do anything. And what he's doing here is so Eliot's reflecting on, right, his modernist society and what he sees as being wrong with it. That's what we've been talking about these past couple of weeks. And he's here saying that modern society is broken and that all that was good is no longer there, and he can't see a way out of it, that this is what society is like now. And so the civilization that he felt was once there in society has been broken, and what's left is a broken imitation of what was once good, the broken jaw of our lost kingdom. So the lost kingdom is pre-modern era, and he sees that all of this sudden progress and industrialization and the American dream, the money in Gatsby, like all of that, he sees, well, that's the broken civilization, that we've lost the goodness of what came before. So we are going to let's try and put that fairly simply here now, because I've got it a little bit more in detail on mine, but we might just simplify it a bit. I'm going to write it like this. It's a metaphor. Metaphor for modern society, and a broken imitation of what was once good. In this last of meeting places, we grope together and avoid speech, gathered on this beach of the Tumid River. Does anyone know from classical mythology what the Tumid River was? Oh no, Tumid means swollen. Oh no, does anyone know what is being referred to? It comes from classical mythology about a river that needs to be crossed. Who's a Greek mythology person in here? So in Greek mythology, there's a river that needs to be crossed in order to get to the beyond, like the other side. And so there's a boatman, I think, that takes people or takes the souls across. Does that ring a bell? If anyone, yeah, am I getting that right? Something like that. And so here he's saying we're all gathered on the beach of this tumid river, of this swollen river that needs to be crossed, but they're groping together and avoiding speech and sightless, and so like floundering around. It's like really disturbing imagery of not being able to cross because they're not able to kind of do anything. They're so directionless. Remember the imagery of the trees swaying, and I said that a tree will go side to side but it doesn't go forward, and so that idea of the motion of not going forward. The last of meeting places, well, that means, well, the end is nigh, and we won't write it down, but there's an allusion here to Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, who, and in the Conspirators, they talked about the last meeting place of the conspirators before you probably don't know the story of Julius Caesar, do you? No. Julius Caesar, it's a historical event that was put into a play by Shakespeare, and he was a Roman emperor, but he was killed by these 12 conspirators who he thought were his friends, or who were his friends, and they ganged up against him, and his best friend Brutus, who he trusted more than anything, was one of them, and they stabbed him and killed him, but they would meet together and whisper about what they were going to do prior to actually doing it. And in his moment of death, he turns around and he goes, "Et tu, Brute," meaning, "You too, Brutus?" Like he sees the one person he thought he could trust in the world holding a knife to stab him. And so the term being stabbed in the back actually comes from that play from Shakespeare, and that's like an allusion here. But we don't need to write all of that down. We are going to write, let's see, all right, so if you're groping together and avoiding speech, it's really animalistic, isn't it? Because as humans, what do we have? We've got speech and we've got connection. But if you think of unable to see, unable to speak, no direction, groping around, it becomes quite animalistic and disturbing. And so if we do this, and I'm just going to then make my note here, and animalistic, and that grope together, so there's that connection, so that continued desire to connect, but it becomes just instinctual rather than purposeful. Animalistic connection. That's only physical. blind and silent. Their lives. Why is that there? Go away with that. This links well with Gatsby, I think. I've got their lives in their final moments amount to nothing. And that's what Fitzgerald was really suggesting, or asking people to think about. If you've got everything in the world that is materialistic, and if you've just only lived for yourself, at the end, at the moment of your death, what do you actually have? Do you actually have nothing? If you've foregone your sense of morality, if you've foregone any spiritual belief, if all of that is left behind and broken, what you know how people go, you can't take it with you when you die, you can't take your money with you, you can't take your possessions with you, and that's what Fitzgerald was saying. It's like, well, ultimately, what's it all going to mean to you? And so this is a good place where you can connect to Gatsby when you're doing your assessment task. We were doing this yesterday, weren't we? Just going Gatsby when I was saying it could be a good connection. And let's also make the note that this is a reference to Greek mythology. And is there a boatman that takes them across the river, is that right? To get to the beyond. Sightless unless the eyes reappear. And, of course, eyes. Unless the eyes reappear. There's a little bit of hope there. Like in all of this, like the depths of the darkness, that idea that they could perhaps reappear. So even though this is the darkest of his poems, he still doesn't completely close the door to hope. And so I'm going to underline unless, because that's the important word there. I'm going to write still a sense of hope. So the possibility of realisation and redemption, do you think Gatsby himself, in that moment that before he was shot, do you think he realised the truth of things, or because he was waiting for that phone call, he thought that Daisy was going to call him, didn't he? Do you think he ever kind of realised the fruitlessness of everything that he'd done? Or do you think he died still believing that it was all worth it? Remember in Prufrock when he goes, will it have been worth it after all the cakes and teas and ices to rise a moment to its crises? And yet, would it have been better for Gatsby to know the truth or not? Was he better dying ignorant and believing that Daisy was going to call and come for him? Do we feel sorry for Gatsby? Ironically, I think Daisy is the one, and certainly Tom Buchanan, who realised the fruitlessness of Gatsby's life. I think Tom was laughing at him going, check you out, all the money in the world and you still don't have what it takes. You still don't have the reputation that Daisy desires. So it's really very sad. So, this little sense of hope here. As the perpetual star. Now, we've got star again, don't we? We had the dying stars, the fading stars, and now we have the perpetual star. What does perpetual mean? Perpetual. Do you have like a perpetual trophy or something? Is that a thing in sport? I actually don't know. I'm not a sports person. Who's a sports person? What a shock to hear I'm not a sports person. You're shocked, aren't you? Is that a thing? A perpetual title or trophy or something? What does perpetual mean? Anyone know? Not quite. Good guess. It means going forever, like it is endless. And so that's why I feel like I've heard I don't know. I feel like I've heard it in sports, but who knows? Yeah, so if something's perpetual, it goes on and on and on and on. So we had the fading star and the dying star, and now he's talking about a star that never fades or dies. It goes on and on and on. And so he's saying that if we do have the eyes reappearing, like the star that doesn't die, a multifolate rose, it just means, you know how you can get different types of roses, and there are those roses that have got like lots of petals, like the bigger ones. That's a multifolate rose. So it's this image of beauty and life and freshness. And Dante in the Divine Comedy, where in the, how Prufrock opened with the Italian, and it's from Inferno, Dante's Inferno. So in that he used the rose to symbolise the highest level of heaven, being when a rose whose petals are formed by Mary and the saints. So that was like the highest form of heaven. And so here he's saying that they will have the eyes to reappear as something alive and beautiful, blah blah blah, and that it's still with this idea of a sense of hope. So let's just go perpetual star, because that's still hope, because it's no longer fading or dying. And multifolate rose is life and beauty and heaven. of death's twilight kingdom. And so, because these souls are in purgatory, he's saying, if you can open your eyes and understand and realize, seek redemption and be forgiven, then you'll reach that place where there's the perpetual star and the beauty and the twilight kingdom, that idea of heaven. The hope only of empty men. So it means that he's warning them that this will only be a hope. So think of these two as kind of switched around. And he's saying that for empty men, if they don't realize and seek forgiveness, it will remain a hope. So for the men who remain hollow, heaven will only ever be a hope. Okay, now let's very quickly, we've got 10 minutes, we're just going to very quickly do this last bit, because rather than doing like line by line annotation, we can do this one a little bit more holistically. This, I love this as an ending for a poem. So listen to this. Here we go round the prickly pear, prickly pear, prickly pear. Here we go round the prickly pear at 5 o'clock in the morning. Between the idea and the reality, between the motion and the act, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom. Between the conception and the creation, between the emotion and the response, falls the shadow. Life is very long. Between the desire and the spasm, between the potency and the existence, between the essence and the descent, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom. For thine is, life is, for thine is the, this is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends, not with a bang but a whimper. Who recognises the opening stanza? What is it? It's mulberry bush, and it's around. Here we go around the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go around the mulberry bush at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so it's a parody. Okay, he's created a parody of the children's song. Here we go around the mulberry bush. Now, that was actually, you know how those nursery rhymes kind of come from some meaning that seems like we never knew, and they become something that we sing to little kids. So that one, because it's like, you know, the Ring a Ring a Rosie, you know what that one was about? Ring a Rosie, pocket full of posy, a tissue, we all fall down. You know that one? Do you know what that's actually about, or where it started? It was about the bubonic plague, and a tissue, so it starts sneezing and you die, you all fall down, and so that was about dying from the plague. The mulberry bush was a fertility dance, so the idea that was like that a mulberry bush would bring you fertility, and you could do a dance to try and help have a baby, whereas a prickly pear is actually a cactus, and so it's the opposite, and it's that desert imagery of infertility. In the mulberry bush song, where it goes at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 a.m. is the time of Christ's resurrection. And so by performing an infertility dance rather than a fertility dance at the moment of resurrection, they are blocking and rejecting the salvation it can bring. Now, this section of the poem deals with the true cause of hollowness. What's the one thing, the overarching thing that Eliot in this poem is saying we're lacking and we have to get back? If you had to say one thing, what is it? Religion, yes. So this is his like final hit of you have to get religion back, because we have the truncated prayer. When they're going, for thine is that they can't pray anymore. And have you ever seen movies and stuff where if someone's done something really evil or something, they can't say a prayer anymore? There's something to do with like supernatural stuff. And the inability to utter the prayer, even though they're trying, means that all hope is lost. Like that's the ultimate pit of evil. And so that truncated, fragmented prayer is the is what's happening there. Now, when we've got here between the idea and the reality, between the motion and the act, falls a shadow. So the idea, you've got an idea that you're going to do something, but the reality, before you actually move and act on it, there's that shadow of evil, of procrastination, of hesitation, of selfishness, between the conception and the creation, between the emotion and the response. That's referring to the cycle of life, right? Conception, creation, emotion, response. But then there's a shadow. If you're only living for yourself, then you're not taking part in that renewal of life. Life is very long. Where is that missed? Oh, there it is. Life is very long. This is a quote from the author, Joseph Conrad, not from Heart of Darkness, but from something else he wrote, in which a broken man is punished by being kept alive rather than being killed. And you know that Greek myth of the dude who was condemned to forever have his liver pecked out by
Prometheus?
Yeah, forever have his liver pecked out by crows, was it?
He's chained to a rock and then an eagle comes and steals his liver every day.
Yeah, every day, but every time it regrows, and so he can't die, and he's condemned for all eternity to just live his life having an eagle come and eat his liver out of his body. And that is so much worse than death. So that's where we've got this life is very long. Between the desire and the spasm, between the potency and the existence, between the essence and the descent, falls a shadow. So again, this is this notion of creation of life, and it's talking here about the physical function of having sex and having it result in a new existence, a baby. But all of this keeps on being overshadowed by this hollow existence, and the attempts at prayer that are uttered but interrupted, they're uttered too late. And so here we have these truncated utterances. And this is the way the world ends. This is again parodying the mulberry bush. Because in the mulberry bush, you go, this is the way we clap our hands, clap our hands, clap our hands. This is the way we clap our hands at 5 o'clock in the morning. But now, this is the way the world ends. And this is also referring to a biblical idea of a world without form. Glory be to the Father, the Son, to the Holy Ghost, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. So, that's part of that Lord's Prayer. So all of these truncated bits of prayer are from that Our Father. So that's meant to be like, that's the ultimate prayer, right? Who knows the Our Father? Who kind of grew up maybe hearing it or going to church sometimes? Yes? No? Our Father who art in heaven. It's what I was saying yesterday. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. And so he's talking here about kingdom. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation. What's going on in Gatsby? It's all about temptation. All about temptation, both through money, but also through desire and through wanting, like that wanting of the mistress and all of the stuff that they were doing behind each other's backs. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom The glory, the honour are yours, now and forever and ever, world without end. Amen. And so here he's going, well, this is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends. And then not with a bang, but a whimper. It's like it ends with nothing. There's no great big thing that happens, it just whimpers out. And this is like referring to Kurtz at the end of his life, just whispering the horror, the horror. And so that whisper that ends his life and his realization. All right. I didn't get you to write anything down on that because we're going to run out of time. So what I'm going to do is I'll annotate that and then maybe like give you guys a copy so that you don't have to like do it in class, but then you can put it into yours. Absolutely. Is that what you need?